Hello, everybody. This is the Alchemists Session 4. So, when we last left last session, you guys had cleared out the Iron Papacy threat, or at least to you, they seemed a threat. You, after some difficulty, a lot of damage sustained for most of you, Tallow made a deal with the same demon that Igram had contracted with to bring his friend Ton back from the dead. After some conversation with Ton, there was another shriek, a woman crying out in fear that there was a monster. And when you arrived back up from the cave in the dried riverbed to see, there was a monster made of pure shadow, but in the shape of Igram. The woman cowers in fear as this shadowy form towers over her and lifts a blade to strike at her. Roll initiative. For those of you who think that you might have some magical abilities, you can go ahead and roll an Arcana check for me. Ignatius, you don't need to because you already know. I'll just leave it at that.
Arcana 6 for Tallow.
All right, and if you guys want to put your initiative rolls in the chat as well. All right. So this strange shadow creature in the shape of Igram is there. It's lifting a blade over this townswoman who's cowering in fear underneath it. But before it will act, Tallow, you notice this just in time, and your kind of familiarity with the town gives you an advantage on acting quickly in this scenario.
So Tallow is frozen on the spot. He peers out and sees this shadow in the shape of Igram towering over this woman, and his body's urging to race forward and help her, but his feet and his heart are just frozen in place. And he actually he actually scrambles backwards and sort of clambers down to his knees a bit, and just is just muttering to himself incoherently. It's come to kill us all. What can we do? What can we do? And he's just rambling like that to himself.
Alrighty. In that case, since Tallow is not able to bring himself up to act, the shadow creature brings down the blade, striking at this woman. Her shrieks are cut short, turning into a scream of pain. And her body begins to drain of its color, the flush red turning pale, and then almost into a bluish as her life leaves her. She falls to the ground and goes silent. Igram.
The abrupt, sorry,
No,
just
go
quickly,
ahead.
the abrupt cutting short of her scream sort of is visible in Tallow's rocking. When it cuts short, he just kind of stops, realizing what's just happened, and just continues muttering to himself, "It's nothing I could have done. It's nothing I could have done."
Igram visibly sees the world around him drain of saturation. Where he once saw flecks of green and orange in color, it returns to its normal gray. His mind kind of returns to him, no longer charmed by the filthy little bugger who put him under a spell not moments before. He turns down to see Tallow, his eyes shifting slowly from that of peacefulness and contentment to confusion, anger. He lifts you up by the back of your scruff of your collar and kind of lifts you onto your feet, turns you around to face you, eye to eye. You can like feel his nostrils flaring, the breath just like washing against your face.
He's not giving you eye contact. He's just still trying to just stay in his not happy place, but his somewhere else place, and sort of muttering to himself, avoiding eye contact.
And then he notices the black figure. That sounded wrong. The shadowy figure off murdering and doing strange things to this person. And again, his eyes are just, he's trying to take in what it is he's seeing. He has the mind of a survivor. Has this shadow being noticed our presence yet?
It doesn't appear like it has. Right now, it's just looking over down at this woman that is just killed. Appears to have almost drained in some sort. And its eyes kind of, or where its eyes would be on its face, its head kind of seems to signal upwards, looking further into the town, looking as if it's going to start making its way further in.
And that would be away from us or towards us?
I
Roughly.
think it'd probably be like perpendicular to you guys.
Sure. I would give Tallow a firm shove back down in this little hole that we've been hiding out in, as well as completely kind of retreating, weapon drawn. I think it's a spear that Igram has, and a sword, maybe one in each hand. I imagine like Tallow just slumping against the hard earth in a heap, and I'll just like have this look on my face of like, what the fuck is happening and what is that kind of thing, you know? I kind of just look to Ignatius and Kira for like some kind of guidance on like what the hell is that creature, and also like what are we gonna do? But he utters no words. He's still kind of fuming.
So as you're kind of turning back to deliberate, you see where this woman had just fallen. Her body kind of a strange bluish, already the color of death, as though immediate. And then you see her arms come up to pick herself back up, but the arms are not her arms. They're arms made of pure shadow. As this being continues to climb up in the exact shape of this woman, but made of the same exact shadow that this other creature that you've just seen is made of. And it turns over to the shadow version of Igram that you see and begins to walk towards it and approach next to it. And at least for now, continuing into initiative, unless you guys figure out what you guys are going to try to do. Kira.
Yeah, how are the townspeople reacting to this? Oh, townswoman, never mind. Dang.
Yeah.
So
So there's only one person in this direct vicinity.
Okay.
Who she is no longer alive. Seemingly,
Right, yeah.
shadow
Split.
creature has just crawled out of her.
So
In her exact form.
okay, and oh my man, this is not good. I guess if they don't know where we are yet, yeah, we should continue to hide. If it didn't seem like they turned to come towards us after the lady became a shadow figure, then yeah, let's hide.
Alrighty. So for the time being, then Ignate. Well, one more person through this current initiative, and then Ignatius.
All right, so
if you
Ignatius
don't,
looks at everyone
Yeah.
sitting there in trepidation. He thinks, God, what sorry shits these are. They jump in the middle of a fight, but they see something a little strange and they're just too scared to act. And he thinks to himself, maybe this is my fault. Probably not. Tallow asked me to do it anyways. But he thinks maybe I still have control over them. And so he like would reach his hand out in like a black fire surrounding his hand as he attempts to dispel them, like to see if they're still under my influence or if I can control them or like make them basically disintegrate.
So you reach out to attempt to dissipate them, like you did the other shadow that you had intentionally summoned in the previous fight with the Iron Papacy. But while they are the same creatures, in a sense, these ones are not your creatures, and you are not able to release any spell that seems to hold them.
Yeah, so Ignatius just would lean back, kind of look to everyone else to see what they want to.
Immediately, Igram's like looking for furniture / like just things that he can like push and shove into the entranceway of this cave, just to like barricade us in or barricade them out, I guess would be a better way of saying it, if the case be.
All right, so it sounds like we'll go ahead and scratch initiative for now. We'll leave that up. If you guys do re-engage, we'll keep the same order, but for now we'll leave it as is. So you guys, it sounds like, are retreating back into the Children of Dusk hideaway that you guys had gone into. Yeah, Egram, you'd be able to find like a couple of like crates and similar type of things with which to drag down into the dried up riverbed and block the hideaway entrance with.
Yeah, just like
So
not even without any effort, just like I'm just trying to make as big of a wall as I can.
yep, and you're able to do so. It's not too much longer though. In fact, you can hear them starting to break in as you're dragging in the final crate into place, Agram. More people starting to scream in terror as these things have now made their way closer into town, and clearly the more of the townspeople have noticed them, either the screams from before and have gotten curious, or someone has seen these other creatures. But it's clear the townspeople are aware and afraid, though from where you're at, you obviously cannot see if anything has happened. So the four of you are in this hideaway. I'll say that Tan is probably also in there with you. He's not going to do anything out of his own accord, but he is there just in case.
And after like seeing these shimmering, shadowy shapes, Ingram just kind of looks at Ignatius. One of accusation, curiosity, like just please explain yourself. Are those your pets? Scratching away, murdering?
No, I mean technically not.
What do you mean technically not? He like advances towards you.
Well, I mean, Tallow wanted me to do what I could to save his friend, and that was the most powerful thing I could do, was summon Shadow Incarnate. So I did at his behest. And
Okay, so-
we saved him. So you're welcome, Tallow.
So do they like?
Tallow still rocking back and forth, mumbling to himself and patting his little mouse.
I've barricaded us in here. They can't get through that. At least it'll buy us some time to know that they're here.
I'm a little hazy on how they work. I remembered being able to do it before, but it's still foggy. I think they might dissipate after a while. I'm not sure. It's never. I don't remember it ever getting this. I don't remember it ever getting this out of control. Well, I tried to dissipate them when we saw them, but I couldn't. So it's out of my powers to affect. We'll probably just want to rest up here and then leave.
Your power. Yeah.
It's not my fault. I mean, we succeeded, right? We killed the iron. How is this my fault?
You brought those things here, and they're gonna kill every last one of human flesh out there, including us.
Tallow, you remember what I asked you when we were fighting? When you rushed in there to save your friend? He gets a little bit more annoyed. And so I guess he'd give you kind of a kick. You're like, Tallow!
He kind of stops and looks up at you. Ton's alive. He's
yes,
okay.
Thanks to me. You're welcome.
And he looks over at Ton. And in his is not right in the head at the moment. You can tell, obviously. And he looks over at Ton and has this idea for some reason that because Ton's alive out of all of this, that for some reason Ton should be able to save us. in his twisted mind and its state at the moment. So he pleads with Ton, like it's embarrassing. He like crawls over to him and he's like tugging on his legs as he's like pleading to him. You have to. You can save us, can't you?
What?
Jesus Christ.
You have to.
What am I supposed to do?
Well, I don't know. You've seen these things before, haven't you? From where you've been, where you've come back from.
Talo, what are you talking about? I've never seen.
And then he whirls around to Igram and actually gets up onto his feet and comes over
Get off me.
accusatorily to him as well. You've seen them too, haven't you?
He kicks you to get you off.
And he falls to the ground with a thud.
You know, that's right. I made them in Ingram's likeness, so maybe that's the reason why they've gone off the rails like this. So Ignatius kind of starts thinking to himself, and like just he's really focused, trying to think back and pull back the pieces of his past.
And Igram just gives you a look. Like, the fuck you just say? Kind of look.
Kara will step in. Stop it, boys, stop it. She'll try to pick Talo up off of the ground. Get up. Groveling isn't going to help anything. Ignatius, Igram is right. You will foolhardy to just summon these creatures willy-nilly. They will wreak devastation, and that is on you for their actions.
You know what? You're right. You're right. If only there was some kind of defense force in this town that might have been able to stand. Oh, fuck. That's right. You guys wanted to kill all those guys. Never mind. Totally my fault. My bad.
No, we were acting always on the behest of keeping this innocent life of Ton alive.
Yeah, you're right. Kill all 10 of those Iron Papacy guys. Save Ton. And then just, let the cards fall where they may.
Are you saying we can destroy these shadow creatures?
Are you saying that you're on the Iron Papacy side?
Look, I'm just saying that
You're
I
on the
wasn't the
side
one that rushed in, okay?
of a band
I
of
was
murderers?
just going to sit there and
Tyrants?
watch them do their thing. I'm not the law in this town. They are, right? Who am I to say what they should do?
If you call that law, it's murder.
I mean,
at best.
we sure could use their help right now. I'm not wrong about that.
Do you think that we can take them out by ourselves? The three of us, she says, looking accusatorily over at Talo.
I mean, I don't know. The ones that I summoned in the fight didn't seem that powerful, but I don't have control over these ones, so I don't know. They could be stronger than the ones that I summoned because I based them off of Igram. Maybe it was because
You know these
I
things
pulled.
best. Do you know how to get rid of them?
Normally, I
What
just rip them apart, rip the shadow apart, but it didn't work when I tried it before. So
Can you rip their
just have
shadow
to-
apart by cutting them in half?
If you want
I
to
can
give
do
me
that.
an Arcana, Ignatius.
14.
So you remember seeing back in the fight, one of the Iron Papacy soldiers strike at your shadow form that you created. And while it didn't seem to be as effective as cutting a human per se, it did seem to have some sort of effect. So clearly they can be affected.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how strong these things are and how easy it would be, but it'd be technically possible.
Yeah, so Ignatius would relay that to the group and then add the longer we wait, normally it takes a while for the shadow forms to progress, but it seems for some reason that they're accelerated. So Longer we
What do you
wait, the worse it's going to get. Well, you saw it attack that woman, and instantly her shadow was purged and turned into that shadow, that dark creature.
Yes, we must stop them as soon as we can.
And they're just gonna keep doing that? Breeding like bunnies?
I would assume that they can't live forever. I mean, they'll have to dissipate at some point, so it might bring down the town, but it probably won't spread from here. We could just leave.
That's my thought exactly.
So Ignatius kind of looks at you like a little bit surprised. He's trying to gauge if you're actually on his side or if you're like fucking
Look.
around with him.
Igrum, Ignatius is right. We slaughtered all of the guards. This pile of rubble, although it may not look much, was my home at one point. We need to right our wrongs. This is Ignatius's doing. You are responsible for it. Igrum, you cannot sit by idly letting these things wreak havoc. You know that. Tallow, you need to just grow a spine.
And Agrim is torn at this. Half of him knows that he will live if he walks away. The other half knows that dozens of families will not live if he walks away. And in this being torn, he is just fuming, frustrated, confused. You can see like the muscles on his neck like just tense.
Tana's gonna look over at you, Tallow. Please, you have to get them the help. We can't lose this town like this. It's all we have. Please.
What about fire? He says from the ground, not looking up. Fire seems to do something to the shadow. Maybe it's the answer.
Fire seems to be the cause of this. Thanks, Torch.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing too, is I don't know if they carry my innate traits anymore. Because I've built up a resistance to fire, and that might extend into the shadow. God, fascinating creatures. It's marvelous how
No,
powerful
okay.
they are.
Talk so I can understand you. Can fire kill these things?
Um,
I don't care about your wumbo jumbo. Answer the question.
And Tallow pulls out his old tattered book and starts sort of flicking through it, starting to seemingly come a bit more back to reality, seeming to be looking through it for something, as Ignatius is thinking.
It's definitely maybe possible, but I'm not sure.
Well, if you kind of looking to Kira and Ton and Tallow, if you desperately want to go, risk your lives, which is understandable yet foolhardy. My blade is here, and I will follow you. And Ignatius, if you want to leave this scene, survive like we all must. My blade is here as well, and I will follow you.
Tan looks up at you. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go.
And so like Igram's like trying to put the pressure on Ignatius to buckle instead of himself.
So here's Tansa. You're right. Let's go. And Ignatius responds, "Yeah, let's gather what food we can and get out of here."
Fine. If you guys won't
Ignatius.
help, then I'll do it myself. And Ton begins to start moving crates out of the way.
Ignatius, we can leave once we have taken care of your disaster.
No, Ignatius, that was a joke. I said a joke there. You're bringing your ass along with all of us. We're gonna go. You're gonna torch these things with your little candle hands, whether you like it or not.
Talos
Sounds
at
like
that
it
stop.
sounds like you need me. Candle hands. That's not a really good way to make someone want to help you now, is it?
I imagine murdering their families is gonna want to make them help you. But nonetheless, Ton, and he's kind of stumbling over now. He's gotten a little confused. No, whatever. Yes, you're valuable. You're useful. You're wrong. You're a little bit cocky.
So, if I could real quick get Tallow and Kira to make perception checks for me. So both of you would notice as Igram says "Ton" and kind of points, you guys instinctively follow his finger back to where he was near where you guys had barricaded, and he's gone. He's moved the crates and he's not there.
Wow,
Honestly,
that little boy has more courage than all of you. Let's go, now!
and surprising everyone, not least of all himself, Tallow leaps up and just charges out past the barricade. Ton at the moment is one of the most valuable things in his life. He's just struck a bargain. Doesn't know what the price is to get him back, so he's going to chase after him. Not
After
even really
you
real.
handle hands. And Agrim will kind of allow Ignatius to follow suit.
And does he follow suit?
So Ignatius looks at him at Igram, and then raises his hand, extends his middle finger, and then lights a small flame coming off the tip of it as he pushes like this with his hand and then takes a seat. If you're just going to be rude, then I won't give you my help or my power. Good luck.
Igrim takes that and fine, Igrim follows the other three little boogers out of the hideout.
So, Igram, Tallow, and Kira, you push your way through the space that Ton had made in the barricade as well, and start heading back in the direction of the town square proper. As you head out, the screams of the townspeople grow louder and higher in number and volume as the scene has gone on. And as you get to the square, you see that there's not 2 shadow creatures now, but 3. And another corpse of another townsman on the ground. There are 4 other townspeople in the immediate area. Some of them seem like they're trying to put up feeble resistance. Some of them seem to just be struck in fear, unable to run or to fight. And from here, we will fall back into the previous initiative order that we had rolled. We're just going to keep the same one for now. So, at the top of the order here now is Tallow. There are these 3 of these shadow creatures now, kind of around 4 of these townspeople.
Can I see Ton anywhere?
Ton is currently running towards one of the shadow creatures with a small sword in his hand,
Okay.
raised up as if he goes to strike, but he's not yet engaged it.
Okay. You insane son of a bitch. And he keeps sprinting, chasing after Ton. Basically, just going to launch himself into the fray. And as he's running, he's trying to psych himself up. The hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? And inadvertently casts heroism on himself. So that's his action. And then, how close would he get with his movement for this turn? Okay.
You guys are able to get close enough to engage if you desire.
Yeah. So he would come up with his short sword drawn. Surge of some kind of renewed courage running through him from the spell as he comes up alongside Tom to next turn engage with the one with the shadow that he's going to engage in.
Beautiful. And would this heroism spell have any physical manifestation? Would people be able to see what that looks like, or is it more of just an internal thing that's happening to Tallow?
Yeah, I imagined it more as an internal thing in this setting. Yeah, so he's immune to being frightened and gets temporary hit points at the start of each of his turns for
Beautiful.
1 minute. Actually, sorry, I'm going to cast it as a 2nd level spell and target Ton as well, if you don't mind me doing that.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Cool.
All right, and just for my own records, how many temporary hit points will he be getting for that?
So it'll be 5 at the start of each turn.
Ooh, nice. All right.
Sorry, that'll be 3.
Is that all for Tallow? 3.
Yeah, 3, not 5, and that's all.
Beautiful. As you and Ton charge up next to these creatures, the shadow form of Igram turns towards you and brings up his shadow blade, bringing it down onto Ton. Instead of the blade cutting into him, it sends a streak of this almost blue pale color across his arm and presumably down his chest, though you can't see it under his shirt. He lets out a howl of pain, and you can almost seem to see his arms, his legs, his form. Shrivel isn't quite the right word, but he kind of falls. His sword almost looks like it becomes immediately heavier in his hand as he grunts from the pain. Igram.
Igram steps out of this like barricade entryway. He looks back and sees Ignatius just lounging in the chair. He's got his sword out. He sees the 2 little children, to him it seems, run up to these great beasts of terrifying prowess. And he kind of steps to the side a little bit to allow basically Ignatius to see what's going on. You're going to allow this? Kind of gesturing to the 2 little children of dusk running and charging as if for suicide. Is this what you wanted?
I don't really know what I could do. I mean, I'm not that strong. I'm just a little candle, you know. It's fine. You got it. You're strong. You're good at killing things and people, right? How many people have you killed, Igram?
I hope your chair burns down where you sit. And he turns his back and ignores your question. And then he just charges into the fray as well to hopefully distract the other two by his just like his more massive form and physique and stuff. Just gonna make a charge attack possible against one of these shadow beings. I hope
Absolutely.
want to do it on Igram himself if possible.
Yeah, so Shadow Igram is being engaged by Ton and Tallow. But you could absolutely make it up alongside as well, if you would like.
All right, cool. And as he brings his sword up to strike, his eyes turn jet black. His face still emotionless, and he is going to attack the heck out of this creature. So I got a crit.
Nice.
For AC. And let's get some die rolling here. Okay. 10, 15. Let's do 15 points of slashing damage. Oh no, I get another die roll. Holy crap. Okay. So yeah, so 15 points of slashing and then 7 points of necrotic that ignore immunities and resistances.
Or how many necrotic?
7.
Yeah, you charge forward. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I insist.
Yeah, you charge forward, just slamming into this creature. The actual slash of the weapon, though it's clear to see that it has some effect, is clearly not the same effect that it might have on a person. But the extra power that you have within, definitely strikes at it. The shadow from the attack almost kind of seems to like disrupt its form in some sense. Like its shape becomes less defined and less smooth, and almost becomes more distorted and angry.
Cool. Yeah, that would be my turn.
All right. Beautiful. Tan brings up his sword to attempt to strike at one of these things. And while he's able to connect, it's clear that his abilities have been affected by this hit he's taken, and he hardly seems to be able to get anything out of it. One of the shadow townswomen that you had watched rise up before you hid back into the hole, seeing you guys approach, realizing that you guys are much more of a threat and potentially a better ally than the townspeople, is going to charge up towards, who will it be? Tallow. Oh God. And crits.
Let's go.
Lay it on me, Jeff. What's the damage, brother?
Oh God, this is gonna hurt. Oh, I'm so sorry. You are going to take 17 necrotic damage and lose 6 points of temporary strength.
Wow. He drops to the ground, unconscious. with a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, you guys just see Tallow, the blood just drain from him. Blue spots streaking across where this shadow's claw-like hands had raked across his body, almost spreading from that point in this like pool of pale blue. Reaching from his body as he just completely falls limp onto the ground. Kira.
Kira screams, seeing her brother just drop to the ground, and she's just like so devastated, but still filled with purpose and kind of rage and hate, and will pull out her bow and loose an arrow at the creature that just struck her brother down. And I believe since Ton is in melee with it, right?
Ton and Igram are both very close, so yep.
Okay, cool. All right. She's just like screaming out her brother's name. Oops. 14. Is that AC 12? You
Shadows
said?
have AC as well, so yep,
Cool.
that'll hit.
And that is 18 points of damage. And she just kind of like, drops her bow and is just sobbing and runs up to her brother's body.
Yeah, the arrow pierces through the shadow form, sending like a spout of like black smoke and mist kind of tumbling from its back. But its form still stands, kind of distorted and writhing in the point where the arrow hit. And you can see Tallow on the ground as he's unconscious from this blow. The blue marks where he had been raked by this thing are spreading across his chest, almost like some sort of plague, as it gets further and further kind of from the original spot and moves through his body. And then we move over. Ignatius, you are sitting in a chair, presumably relaxing.
I stepped away for a second. Did anything more awful happen? Tallow just went down.
Yeah, Tallow's down. Kira fired an arrow and hit the shadow pretty good, but it's still standing. And the mark on Tallow is where this like pale blue coloration from where he had been hit is spreading on his body as he lies there.
Yeah, so Ignatius stands up out of his chair and takes a few steps forward and then yells out to everyone, "This is a lesson you need to learn. You all act so righteously, but you need to have the power to back it up. You can't go around thinking you're heroes, you can save everyone. Sometimes you can't." As he stands there.
I love it. Oops, I left my stats in there. Well, you get to see the Shadow's HP. Have fun. The shadow of the town's man is going to turn and it looks at you, Igram. It raises a hand to strike. And it does so, but as you bring your weapon up to try to block, you almost think that like your instinct would be wrong and that this block wouldn't be able to do anything. But the shadow energy from your spear is able to contact with this thing's arm, knocking it off course away from you, as it's not able to strike you. All right. Some of the townspeople attempt to try to grab tools and things that they have on hand and try to do anything that they can to these creatures, but they are not able to do so, as their attacks miss or are ineffectual, just passing through these creatures like nothing. Tallow, if you could make a death save for me, please.
You betcha.
Just flat d20.
18.
Whew. One success. Yeah, as the this kind of blue discoloration continues to spread, its spread almost seems to slow a little bit, though not completely, as it moves through Tallow. Shadow Igrum feels at the hole in its stomach, like, and looks up at you, actual Igrum. Revenge in its featureless face. You can't see it on its expression, but you can feel it. Ooh, that's only a 12. So, same as before. Tries to strike, but some power in you is able to fend these attacks off, despite their shadowy nature. And it is not able to contact you. And that'll bring us to you, Igrum. You have two of these creatures engaged with you.
Yeah, I imagine this creature just swipes at me and I just take the force of it, but my shadow within me is almost just as strong as this shadow, at least for the time being, and that strike. And I just focus in on it. And I just, with one big lunge, I want to just impale Shadow Igrum with my spear. So that would be a 20 to hit.
Yeah, you don't even need to roll damage. What does it look like as Shadow Igrum is dissipated?
I imagine that actually Shadow Igrum would kind of shrink around this impalement into the spear itself, and then like drip off as if it were like an oiliness, and kind of just slink and spread into the ground and dissipate into the cracks in the earth. Kind of like a weird, almost like a bloody wound in reverse, almost kind of thing. It's very strange appearance.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this Shadow Igrum just kind of, the edges of it just melt away, just falling down like a pool of oil. Parts of it, I imagine almost being like where the center where you had stabbed it almost are like drawn into the spear itself, like the shadow energy just like coalescing
like a straw
into the spear too as you attack.
And then with my offhand, just slice at the other shadow townsman who struck at me earlier, who I parried.
Yep.
And it's my long sword. And that is a 22 to hit.
Yeah.
For 11 physical, and 3 necrotic that ignores immunities and resistances and stuff. 11 plus 3.
Perfect. Yeah, you cut through the shadow. Again, the dark forces that power your weapons, making them effective in dealing with these creatures. Tan is going to do his absolute best to try to avenge his fallen brother in arms, Tallow, striking at the townswoman who had just felled him. The sword hits. At least it makes contact in the technical sense, but it passes through the creature so smoothly. The creature doesn't even react, as Tan is not able to deal enough damage to this creature to affect it. This woman looks up at Ton, having just been struck by it. The woman rakes out with these shadowy claws, ripping at Ton. And Ton falls limp on the ground. And in the same manner of Tallow, shadowy blue discoloration begins to spread from his body, the rest of his skin going a pale, sickly white, as he too is on the ground. Kira.
Dawn, not you too. She will pull out her rapier, having tossed her short bow aside, and she wants to use a bonus action to do insightful fighting, which is my insight versus your deception to grant me sneak attack against the Shadow Woman, because I believe she's not in melee with anyone, right?
She's still right in the fray. So she's not directly engaged with Igram, but they're still close enough for mechanics to take into effect here. That
All right. Well, that's what we'll do then. I'll sit and wait for the opening that she inevitably will show me. Nope. And I jab, and she quickly just knocks my blade aside as I feebly thrust. Nope.
Yeah, the shadow woman just moves her arm. The sword just passes through it as she just directs it away. You can feel she has no eyes. The face is just featureless shadow, but you can still feel its attention just bearing down onto Yukira as your attack is not effective. And then, once again, we move to the edge of this field, this hideaway, where we see Ignatius, who has stood there and shouted insults to his companions as they are just just wrecked by these shadow creatures.
So he continues. Igram, you're doing well. The power from that demon is fueling you. You can accomplish your goals. You can do whatever you need. You're strong. Kira, what about Ton? What about Tallow? You can't protect them from one creature? You need power to accomplish your goals. Don't you see that? You can't rely on Igram. As he says, when the darkness begins to spread, will you have what it takes to fight back? As he casts darkness over everyone. As shadow begins to swell, swallowing his companions and squeezing out the light.
Oh boy. I
I
imagine
also
that
changed
this,
my focus
yeah.
so I can see through the darkness.
I imagine this darkness spell almost like comes out of the remaining shadowy form. Like this creature is like walking towards you, Igram, as you're engaged with it, bringing its hands up to move, and like it looks like this creature is getting bigger for a second, but then you realize that this form is almost just becoming like this sphere, and then just all of you are just plunged completely into darkness. And now, with advantage, I will attack at Igram. This is going to be a 21, which I think is going to get you. And Igram, you're going to take 6 necrotic damage and 2 temporary strength drain. What was once a shadow creature is now complete darkness. You have no idea where this creature might be in the pure shadows. It blends in quite literally perfectly as you just feel shadowy claws rake. Tallow, if you would like to make a death save.
Yes, sir. Ooh, 15.
All right, another success.
Hanging in there.
All right. Igram, you are surrounded by shadow. You're in complete darkness. You know that there's a shadow creature here, but also there are other people here as well. What do you do?
Oh, Igram is gonna swing, not wildly, but like in retaliation for where these raking claws came from, paying no heed to whoever may actually have his blades meet. Or Igram is in his quote-unquote rage right now. It makes no difference between allies and enemies in this state. So, what do you want me to do for this?
Go ahead and make an attack roll with disadvantage because you are essentially blind.
Cool. And my innate advantage will just cancel that out. Sweet. So that would be a 21 to hit. With my sword. I don't know what I'm hitting, but I'm hitting something.
All right. Let's see what happens here.
Percentile?
Okay, how much damage do you do?
It would be, man, this whole like strength score changing is a pain in the butt. 7 points of physical damage and 2 necrotic.
You hear a sound not unlike one that you've just been hearing recently. The sound of black smoke and mist dissipating. But you know you made contact with the right creature, but you are unable to determine whether or not it is still alive.
I'm gonna strike at it again, essentially, if possible. With my spear.
Yeah, go ahead. It'll still be with
Cool.
disadvantage, but you'll be able to hit the right target no matter what.
Okay, cool. So innate advantage cancels it out. Nice. So that's gonna be a 12 to hit. Oh, that's just enough. Nice.
That is exactly right.
So 5 physical, 4 necrotic.
Right, you hear the same sound.
Does the shadow remain, like the darkness?
And it will remain until Ignatius dismisses it. So as of now,
So again,
you are still not
Igram's
sure what the fate of this creature is, given that it is exactly identical to the shadow magic around it.
He's gonna keep battle stancing here. That's my turn.
All right. Tan is going to roll a death saving throw. Okay. Kira, you're plunged into complete darkness. You can't see anything. You can still hear the whoosh of Igram's spear and swords flying. You're not entirely sure what remains or even totally what's happened. What do you do?
Ignatius, you complete coward! She wants to I assume she knows where he would be in relation to her. Or
You would have an
at least,
approximate guess.
yeah, that's where she's gonna run toward.
Right, and I believe the darkness is only a 30-foot from its radius.
Yeah, 30 feet radius.
Okay, so
So
how
you
far
would
out? So, yeah,
so you'd
sorry,
be
how
able to
far?
barely breach the so you begin to run towards Ignatius completely in shadow, and then suddenly the shadow breaks away, almost like you're opening blinds, and this just light pours out, and you're able to see completely straight towards where Ignatius is. And if you were to turn around, you would just see a slightly curving, almost like a dome shape of complete pure darkness. You have no clue where that came from.
Yeah, how far outside of the darkness is Ignatius?
Ignatius has not moved from where you started. So he's still probably a good 25, 30 feet away from where you are right now.
Okay. Um, I guess I want to step like right into the darkness and maybe fire an arrow out right to where I think Ignatius is.
All right. You will still roll with disadvantage. Are
Okay.
you trying to hit him? Or are
Yeah,
you trying
for sure.
to just
I'm
Interesting.
trying to like hit him in the leg probably. But yeah, he just made it extremely difficult for us to save our companions from monsters that he created. And now he's just throwing insults out. Yeah, this is not, yeah, there's no way. That's okay.
All right,
So,
make a roll. If you're stepping back into the shadow, it will have disadvantage.
yeah, I want to be in the shadow.
All right.
Oh, yep, and I miss for sure. So he probably just sees an arrow flying.
Yeah. Ignatius, you
with-
see Kira burst out from the wall of the shadow, immediately duck back in, and then just an arrow whizzes. You can hear it fly by your face and thunk into the dirt of the riverbank behind you.
So Ignatius immediately begins just, I can see you in there. The second you stepped back in, you just lost sight of me completely. What are you? That was worthless. That was terrible. In fact, you just abandoned your brother to die, to fight me. That won't accomplish your goals. That won't let you achieve anything. You need to focus. You need to find what you really need to do in the moment and do it.
Right? It's technically your move, Ignatius. So
as he
if you would like
ignites
to take
his
an action,
hand in a swell of fire and says, "Don't worry about me. Focus on what you need to do. I don't wish to hurt you." As I ready an action.
all right. I presume you that ready triggers if somebody tries to mess with you further, you're going to do something.
Yeah, yep, something like that.
All righty. So, Hallow, make a death saving throw.
9.
All right, 2 successes, 1 failure.
No biggie.
Igram, you are still plunged in total darkness. Not completely sure what remains and what doesn't.
Agram swings at the darkness, continuing his onslaught of spear and sword.
Okay, go ahead and make attacks with disadvantage. Well, it'd be regular for you.
Yep. So 15 for a sword and 8 for a spear.
You swing your weapons through the darkness where you know the creature was last. There's no sound other than the whirring of the weapons themselves.
Oh. I guess I must have missed. All right, that's my turn.
All right. I have made another death saving throw for Ton. Kira.
So, Kira, I think, oh man, she wants to like stick just her head out of the darkness and take a look again. And if she sees that, if she sees that Ignatius is readying an action,
Yeah, he
and
said he
looks
put
like-
his hand up and flame was at the ready, so you can
Yeah.
see that he's ready to act at a moment's notice.
okay, perfect. I want then to fire an arrow towards him, not at him, and then immediately duck, hoping his flame misses me or like, tumble to the side, try to like get out of the path of where he thinks I am so that he is casting flame into this darkness, but not at me, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, that'll depend on exactly what Ignatius is doing here, but so I'll let you decide if that qualifies as a strike against you. But Kira shoots towards you, not at you. It doesn't hit. I'm not going to make her roll an attack. But
it's
up to
meant
you
to
how
look
you
like
react.
a threat, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
very clearly, it's at least a threatening gesture.
Perfect. So Ignatius quips, says, "So you try to kill me while your brother dies? Brilliant." And fires a bolt of flame. He can see in the darkness, so he knows where you are. And what is
All right,
this? It's
So Kira is going to did specify that she is going to drop down, so she will be prone. So you will technically have disadvantage if it's just a ranged attack spell. I'm not sure exactly what ability you're using.
so it's a dex save,
Perfect.
which means
Alright.
that does she have disadvantage on it since she's prone?
Great.
Yeah.
And I skyrocket my shadow
I'm
up.
gonna say dex save. I'm just gonna say it's regular because she did say she was also kind of readying to like dodge roll. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if she would have dropped right where she was.
Yeah, so it's
But go
DC
ahead and
13.
give a dex save. DC 13 dex, Kira.
Oh, wouldn't you know, a 12.
All right, what happens?
Oh god. 11. Ooh, how much HP do you have? Question mark.
Nope. How much damage does it
Yeah.
do?
No way am I saying that.
So it's 20 fire damage,
Fuck.
and then yeah. So I'm gonna say that this would enrage Ignatius enough that he would drop his concentration on the darkness and then focus his concentration to keep the fire burning on you. So at the end of your next turn, you'll take a d6 of fire damage, unless you use an action to extinguish the flames.
I will actually be making a death saving throw at the end of my next turn.
Ooh, this could be scary. Oh, I guess
So the
I'll ask
darkness
then, so
drops.
you see. Yeah, so the darkness drops and you see Kira's unconscious. Are you going to keep concentrating on the fire?
I'll drop it. So for a moment, he just
Right.
has this instinct to burn her alive and sees just this killing blow in his eyes, but then he relents. And the darkness drops. And the flames
Alrighty, so
extinguish.
the darkness disappears. Igrum, you see 4 cowering townspeople. Ton, Tallow, and Kira are all on the ground, unconscious.
But these shadow beings no longer harass us, yes?
No shadow beings.
Are you still raging, Igrum?
His eyes are black as night.
Technically,
His
right
face
now,
is
yes.
oh man, why? Why, oh why? He feels the shadow he absorbed in these strikes against the shadow beings themselves. Whether or not
Actually,
it's
real
willing
quick,
to-
if you don't mind,
Mhm.
can I just have you roll a perception roll for me? I want to see if you would notice if Kira's on fire or not, or like smoldering.
I got a 3 on my perception.
Yes!
Yeah, I mean, you would have heard all the things happen. You would have heard Ignatius shouting and Kira being down, despite there not being any shadow creature. So maybe Igrum would be able to infer it, but I'll let you decide what happens. But you are while you're completely enraged.
Ikram sees these like 3 dead bodies on the ground. His only ability is to kill in this state. They're clutching at life, their heartbeats faint but still there. He stands over them, a sword at one, perhaps at Tallow, his spear at Ton. They're right next to each other. You can see they're kind of the ghostly forms. To him, it's like this monochrome, really wispy. They're he can hear them pleading. They're begging. But he can't listen to the begging. It just whooshes right over his raging mind. And he begins to lift the haft of his spear up.
Igrum,
Over.
a familiar voice, goes through your mind. Keep that one alive. He's mine, remember. I don't care what you do with the other. Referring to Tallow.
As if someone had like flicked a switch or something. The hand holding the spear just like opens as if it was not even my control, and the spear just like clatters onto the ground. He's still kind of holding it, his arm up. And just this voice in his head kind of snaps him a little bit more conscious. He's still in this weird fugue state. He notices his sword. He notices just the lack of carnage at this battle. And there has to be carnage after a battle. That's one of the prices. That's why you battle. And the sword goes into Ton. And then as the blade embed itself into Ton, I imagine that's when his eyes would flick open, no longer black pupiled, no longer dark as night, and he sees the bleeding out form of Ton embedded on his sword. And he like his grip is like tight around it as if electrocuted. He can't let go. And he just stands there, looking down at the unconscious form of Ton. This is my turn.
The sword within Ton, a pool of blood spreading out from the ground. As an unconscious Ton fades for the second time into a dead Ton. Igram, you will gain, I rolled it and I rolled max, so 10 points of shadow. You hear that all too familiar voice in your head. Just good. The townspeople that were cowering, some of them falling onto the ground, crawl away from you, Igram. Others run. Kira, make a death saving throw.
Two.
All right. It's one down. Ignatius. Tallow and Kira are both on the ground. Ton is dead. Igram has just stabbed him with his sword. What do you do?
All right. All right. So Ignatius doesn't actually want anyone to die. That wasn't his plan. So he is going to prepare another blast of flame for if he sees Igram moving to strike again. So he's hesitating for a moment to avoid injuring Igram.
Perfect. Yeah, Ignatius brings up himself ready, just in case Igram lashes out one more time. The
Like
townspeople,
if he charges at me or tries to attack anyone, that's the trigger.
anything, yeah, if Igram attempts to continue more violence, then there will be something to happen. The townspeople just are scattered. Some of them are looking at Igram in the same manner of which they looked at some of those shadow creatures not but moments before. This complete fear and terror in their eyes as they run, crawl, whatever they can to get away from the scenario. Tallow.
2. The 2 successes,
right.
2 failures.
2 and 2.
Is the that blue sort of pattern still spreading and still apparent, even with the shadows gone?
Yes, it is. I'm not sure if Igram would have the wherewithal to notice it in his current state. That'll be up to him. But the kind of blue discoloration has almost gripped Tallow's entire body at this point. You can see patches of his face that are still just pale white, pieces of his arms and like his hands and extremities, where his hands and feet are, that are still just like pale, almost bloodless skin. But outside of that, his arms, his chest, everything else that's visible and presumably not visible is just covered in this bluish pale tinge. Igram, what do you do?
Before him is a cart, sparse in contents. It's been waylaid. It's on its side, toppled. It's the creature, the donkey, pulling it. 3 arrows in its neck. It's toppled, dead, bleeding out. Igram standing over a corpse of a young boy, probably adult, and he's coughing up blood, still alive. Igram plunges the sword into this hapless person. And likewise, Igram is again before these bleeding out individuals. His eyes flick back again to pure darkness. He sees nothing but in monochrome. These faint wisps of white light. He sees the 4 townspeople kind of cowering away. They smell alive. He sees the faint, wispy white of Tallow and Kira. He gets up, kicking the body of Ton as he wrenches the sword free. How far away are these townspeople?
Two of them have run using their movement and actions to dash. So they are 60 feet away.
Cool.
2 of the townspeople have fallen and are unable to get themselves fully up, and they are kind of like crawling and stumbling away. They've only made it 30 feet.
And in my mind is a hollowness, an emptiness, the vacuum of silence. This is when Igram knows that the voice would speak up again. He expects it as he stands up from being on his knees and has both his sword and his spear in his hand.
You know what you have to do. You can feel it. You can't stop it. Do it.
In Ingram's mind, it echoes as if like thunder. It's his own thoughts. They're perverted, distorted, enraged, just enshadowfied. That's a new word here in Chrysopia. Come back for these ones. They won't move. Catch your prey. He dashes after the 2 kind of crawling, hobbling townsfolk. Easy prey.
All right, Ignatius, you see Igram charging, weapons in hand, towards these 2 crawling peasants. And you have a ready action if you wish to use it.
Yes. So Ignatius, swelling, cat lobs a ball of fire towards him. So it's a Constitution save. You have disadvantage from the shadow, but you also have danger sense. So it's like if you can see it, but I guess you'd be looking away. So I don't know how that would work.
I think danger sense only works on deck saves.
Oh, that's right. Might be.
So
yeah,
this fire is con save?
Yeah, it's con save.
Oh, that's a weird fire. All right. Come on, looking at random barbarian abilities. No, all right. Straight up con. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. 8 on the die is the lowest one. Plus 5 gives me 13.
My DC's 13. Do you have to meet?
I pass.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you
I
do
meet, so I
so
pass.
you will succeed
All
on the
right.
save.
So let me throw out this damage. 11, 12, 13. So 13 damage. You won't take half because you're currently vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. So how does fire is this fire damage, right?
Yeah, it's fire damage.
So does it automatically just burn away shadow? Or is it a choice that the fire user has to make?
I think it's a choice.
Only in certain scenarios. So unless the caster has a specific ability or trait that they get to choose, which is only very specific circumstances, you actually I believe Igram, you would get to, if you want to burn it, you can. But
This was my
there's
choice.
no yes. I believe that's what I put in there.
Nah, I'll take the hit point damage. It's fine. I got a lots. So how far into my turn would you have like blasted me with fire?
I would have
I'm
waited
gonna
until
say-
you like.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You were probably getting pretty close. I'm gonna say you were 15 feet into your movement.
Okay. Igram pauses at this flame licking his backside.
Which would just real quick put you about 45 feet away from Igram at this point. Ignatius, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are emblazoned, so the flames are on you.
Oh man, what?
Oh wait,
why
no,
did
you
do
passed the
this?
saves. Never mind. You passed the save, so the flames aren't on you. I think you're good.
Why? Why did you do this? Why did you anger the beast? These ones will wait. Kill him. And he will move and then dash towards Ignatius. Why aren't we 5th level? I can use my fast movement to get to you and smack you upside the head. And I guess that's my turn? I don't get a bonus action. Damn. All right. Yeah, so I'm like right in your face, and like these scorch marks of your fire covering me, the hairs on my back or whatever, like smoldering and singed, but I'm still just expressionless. These big black pupils, and I'm like maybe even like wreathed in a little bit of like electricity, even, and like dark smoke.
Beauty.
And I'm
Perfect.
Kira. Make a death save. Oh no.
Another 2.
At least it wasn't a 1. All right. Yeah. So Talos 2 up, 2 down. Kira is just 2 down. If my understanding of everyone's current position is correct.
Holy
Ignatius.
shit.
Ignatius, Igram has charged you in retaliation. I believed you dashed with your action, so he's literally in your face.
Excellent. Ignatius claps his hands together and creates a burst of fire, buying him a moment to disengage. As he points his palms downward and creates a secondary blast of fire to propel himself up into the air and onto the roof of a nearby building. I disengaged. and then used my wind step in order to fly away from you.
All right. Here we go. Moment of truth. Tallow.
Fellas, last death save. Here we go. 7.
Does his demon friend do anything here?
So I imagine this blue stuff is just overtaking the rest of his face and making his eyes, his eyes would be closed so you couldn't see.
Yeah,
If
the
they were going
discoloration
black on it.
covers the rest of Tallow's body. Just the same pale, eerie blue. The same look that the townswoman who had been struck down before looked like before she became a shadow. But we'll find out what happens to him in a little bit. But this has gone on a little bit longer than I'd like, so we will go ahead and with that, take a quick break. This seems like as good a time as any. And then we will see how Igrum reacts to Ignatius boosting away and what terrible fate might befall our good friend Tallow. All right, we'll go ahead and take a quick 5. So grab a drink, go to the bathroom if you need to, anything like that. And then we will be right back. Wow.
Oh, man.
Oh my
God.
Oh, this is insane. So good.
All right. Gonna go
Take 5.
process this all and figure out a
Yep.
way to kill Ignatius. All right.
I don't want to kill you.
I'm fine with killing you. Like you decided to hurt me.
I know. Now I'm gonna have to run away and probably kill myself from shadow points. God.
Holy crikey. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
Man, I feel bad. Like I could just like TPK everyone right now, and I'm like, I don't want to end Jeff's campaign. He put so much work into this. Like such a
Hey.
fitting ending, though.
No, this is great. I'm loving this.
So the building's only 10 feet tall.
Yeah, remember these
Man.
are like barely
Yeah.
shacks. Like these are not like they were
Well.
enough that Kira could easily like climb up onto them in the previous fight with the Iron Papacy. So there's not much to these things.
In that case,
is
I'm
good.
going to expend the extra point that I need in order to just get far away onto a building. So I can get 60 feet away. I am up there, though.
I'm gonna say you're using a lot of points here in this fight.
Ooh, yes. So many points.
Oh, your AC's low. Oh, I'm good. Oh man, I'm good.
So I am 50 feet over and 10 feet up.
Not bad.
Yep.
Not bad. Your AC is so low. It's fine. I'm good.
What I love about this too, is that if you guys had just fought the first shadow, you could have easily killed it. Very easily. They have 12 AC, 16 hit points with resistance to non-magic weapons. Like it would have been like a 10-second fight. But no. You guys had to let it do its work and then go hide and then have a gigantic fight. Like it's just a regular shadow from the monster manual. There was one of them.
Yeah. I should have just let
didn't know
Igram go and kill a bunch of people.
No,
I
I know
should
you
have
guys
just
didn't
let
know
him
that, which is
go.
why it would have been. It would have spoiled the fun if I told you that it would have been easy for you to kill it, because you guys had no idea in character. Excuse me. I almost just died.
Yeah, you know, I'm even gonna. Well, let's see it. It was my action to disengage, so I technically can't hide yet. But I'm fucking out of
yeah.
it, dude. I'm
You can
so
run,
out of
but
there.
you can't hide.
I mean, would you pursue one target like that, like to the ends of the earth?
In my enhanced shadow traits, yes.
I'm gonna say, and you have directly slighted him by attacking him too.
Yeah.
It's
Literally
more
lit
than a
him on
direct
fire.
slight. It's like a full-on, like he provoked the beast.
Yeah, that was a complete backstabbing.
Like he could have let Igram run
Okay.
off and murder the whole town, but no, he had to be like, "I'm going to be a valiant good guy and strike the monster."
Very true.
And
I
he
could
had
go
a
back.
cult
I don't know if I don't know if valiant good guy is the words you want to attribute to Ignatius at this exact moment.
Yeah, I should have just let you go do your thing, but it's too late now.
Yeah.
Unless
late
there's a
now.
townsfolk that wants to
Alright.
try and stop him? Question mark.
I've already run. The townspeople here are out. They're gone. They have run and will continue to run, and they were having
Man.
no part in this nonsense.
Well, looks like I'm gonna get to that 25 shadow.
Alrighty. So it looks like we are all back here, so we will go ahead and get back into it.
So Ignatius is 10 up and 50 over on like the tops
Well-
of these shacky buildings.
But first,
Oh.
Hallow,
Yes.
you are walking. On one side of you is an open field in typical fashion to this kind of area of the world. It's mostly dead grass and dirt, an overcast sky. To your left is a flowing river It's flowing in the direction that you're walking in, alongside its bank. There's a man walking next to you. Well, not much use for you, huh? I do all this work for you, bringing your friend back to life. Asked for a little bit of help in return, and you go and get yourself killed. Not only that, but your friend died again anyways. Now you didn't get to see that, but I just wanted to let you know.
He looks over in shock at that last comment. Why couldn't you save him again? Why can't you save me?
Well, it's not a matter of can or can't, per se. If I saved him again, well, what would there be in that for me? After all, you've already made a deal, signed your life away. I can't sure as well have you sign over a life I already own. What reason do I have to bring him back? I upheld my side of the deal. He got himself killed again anyways. I hardly see how that's my fault.
He straightens a bit at this all racing through his head, coming to terms with the fact that he seems to be dead, and Tom's dead again anyway. And the thought crosses his mind of, well, if I had to sacrifice myself and this is how it was going to end up, then so be it. I'm not gonna. I can't go, even if it wasn't a possibility for me to go back. How could I live with myself? Abandoning him here, abandoning him to death. I owe my life to him so many times over. And then he sort of realizes he's sharing this with whoever this guy is, the demon.
Yeah. He turns to you. You see those piercing green eyes, the same ones you saw. He opens his mouth to say something. But first, Igram. Ignatius has sent himself catapulting away up onto a nearby building, about 50 feet away from you, 10 feet up.
Igrim would like to vault up, just kind of in a jump and a pull and a clamber up this shack as if it were, a low fence.
Is that just a move and dash to close?
Well, no, I just want to get up on the kind of the same plane so I can kind of see him here.
Yeah, you can climb up on the adjacent building to it.
Cool. And so I just see Ignatius there. He's fleeing. Like, I can't really see him. I see his wispy form. It's kind of a tinge of orange. The kind of flickering like flame. I hurl my spear at him. After closing a bit more distance, so that I'm like 30 feet away from him.
Alrighty.
Advantage. Yeah. Nice.
Wait, how do you have advantage on that?
Because I attack with advantage.
Well, reckless attack is melee.
No, I am 0 or I'm 2 points over threshold.
He is over his shadow threshold, giving him advantage on attack rolls.
Forgot about that. Yeesh, I wish I had attack rolls.
And so this spear. Oh, I rolled max. Okay. So 10 physical, 6 necrotic.
Ooh. 16 total.
And as I advance after hurling the spear, I pull from my kind of side a small axe, kind of getting ready to throw another thing. And I don't think I can two-hand dual wield throwing weapons.
No. Not unless you have a specific way ability that would let you do so.
Yeah. I do have the dual wielder feat, but that's.
Yeah.
I think I'll just say that I can't. All right, I'm done my turn.
Yeah. So this spear hurls through the air, clipping into your side. Ignatius, you feel it kind of send you as it just rips right through a huge chunk. You feel the slash of the spear as it cuts through you, and also the surge of this shadow that streaks from the wound as well. Kira, if you would please.
Here goes. 18. First success.
1 up, 2 down. Ignatius. Igrum has climbed up onto the next building over. He's level with you now, but still about 30 feet away. He has hurled a spear, which has smashed through your side. Ignatius?
I'm trying to figure out what I actually can do. Yeah, I'm tapped out. I don't have any psi left. So Ignatius says, I won't give you the satisfaction. And holds his hand to his chest and burns himself from the inside out as he engulfs himself in fire, slaughtering it around. And he slings one last insult to the man, saying, you'll never get your wife and kids back. You're just a murderer, like you thought that I am. As his eyes turn orange, fire begins to leak out of his ears and mouth, smoke coming out of his nose. As he bursts into a flame and dissipates into the wind.
And just like that, where once Ignatius stood, bits of ash left on the ground, blowing in the wind. Hallow.
Yes.
This creature, man, who really knows, has looked at you. Well, I made a deal with you because I assumed that you would be useful. It appears that I have been sorely mistaken. I don't suppose you have any good reasons why I should keep you around, do you? After all, you already died.
He thinks for a moment, trying to think about what this creature might want, might desire, might want from the world. And he thinks about his own desires for the world and trying to heal it and restore it to its former sort of green, lush glory, like the folded canvas painting that he keeps on him at all times, that he got from his mother. That was his wish in life, to try and help people and help the world. And that doesn't align from it. Everything he's seen of this creature doesn't align with what he would want. But he tries one last bargaining approach and tries to appeal to what he thinks this evil guy might want for the world. I can give you servitude. It's true that I'm not the most capable in a fight, but I'm smart. And I'm determined. And despite the fact that I'm here, wherever we are, talking with you right now, on the other side, I am a survivor. Tell me what you'd have me do. Give me another chance. I can serve you.
As you turn back and continue walking alongside him, suddenly it hits you. This river that you're walking by, you haven't seen it like this ever. The only time that you've ever seen it is dried, empty riverbeds. And you didn't see them before, but you see them now. The buildings of Ashton there. And as you and this creature, person, who knows, walk up into the square, you see there's no one here in town except for a few people. There's two boys lying on the ground. You realize one of them is Ton, one of them is you. Igram is on a roof next to a smoldering pile of ash. And then there's a woman, Kira. Her breath barely rising and falling. The creature turns to you, presses a dagger into your hand, gestures down to Kira, and says, "Well, a life for a life?"
Although he looks down in his hand, and there's the dagger in it. He doesn't remember taking it, doesn't remember accepting it out of the hand of this man. He turns it in his hand. His hand is shaking. He's trembling like crazy. Feels sick. looks down at his sister, who he hasn't seen in a decade or more. And he looks over to Igram. He spots him across on the building. A life for a life, he says as he's staring at Igram across the courtyard.
That one belongs to me. Her.
And for the first time in this exchange, Tallow looks over at this creature and looks him in the eye. Forces himself to look him in the eye. It's not easy for him. His hand's still shaking. What's the deal? Can I just die again tomorrow? Or are you going to make me like him? Gestures over to Igram. This price. Can't do this if I'm not getting something worthwhile from it. I need to be able to serve you properly.
Interesting. Well, given that if you say no, you die, you're gone forever, I don't really see how you have the bargaining power here. I've offered you quite a gracious deal. Get a second chance.
He's nodding along.
What gives you the right to ask any more from me than that?
No right. Is there a task you'll have me do straight away? Or will I be waiting for you to come and tell me?
I'll come get you when the time is right. You're pretty easy to find. Until then, you can do as you please.
And what's to stop? He looks over at his own body now, laying dead in the ground next to Tom. What's to stop Igram from killing me as soon as I wake back up? What good am I to you if I just die again straight away?
There are not many voices that Igram listens to. But there is one.
He kneels down over Kira and brushes her hair aside from her face. His own flesh and blood. His hands just shaking like crazy as he raises the knife.
Enough talk. Enough moving.
And
5.
he
4.
does it with a shout. He does it. Drags the blade across her throat. And just, in one motion, drags it across and just lets it go from his hand and just slumps onto his back, just howling in despair.
Igram. The surprise, potentially shock of Ignatius burning himself into ash. As if that surprise wasn't enough, you hear howling and wailing of Tallow as he squirms on the ground next to Ton and next to Kira, yelling not pain, at least not physical pain, but horror.
My gaze turns upon him. I'm this strange creature atop this rooftop, staring down with no malice in my eyes, but just a sheer cold inhumanness. And I gaze upon this newly lit little wisp of light, another living being, another lamb for the slaughter. I advance towards
And you hear
Tallow.
that same voice in your head. I told you, that one is mine.
And he pauses mid stride. Can you just stand, just gazing down? He's gonna do nothing but watch Tallow this turn.
Tallow, you're there. What was the flowing riverbank is now what you're used to, empty, dry bank that it's always been. Next to you is Ton, a hole in his chest and a puddle of blood. But you knew that already, in a sense. This is your first time actually seeing it. And then on the other side of you, Kira, with a slash across her throat. Igram has advanced towards you, initially malice in his eyes, and then it fades suddenly and stops. And the words that the creature told you when you were walking echo back. He knows that you belong to me.
So Tallo's just he would have abruptly awoken up with this howling in despair over next to Ton rather than crouched over Kira. And it takes a moment for his mind to adjust to that. And I think he just pushes Igram out of his mind. For now, he just is focused on Ton and Kira. Doesn't even have his wits about him enough to sort of see that Ignatius is missing at the moment. Doesn't know what befell him yet. But even leaving Ton, who he's closest to, he rushes over. He crawls, drags himself over to Kira, half hoping not to see what he knows he's going to see. And he slumps over and turns her over and sees the gash on her throat. And he just howls in just utter despair. And just is apologizing. And just sets to work, right? Goes back into survival mode, base instinct, simple tasks like, all right, I've got to bury her. And just starts, even just with his hands next to her, just starts trying to dig a bit of a hole. And just sets to work on that.
Kira. You're sitting in a wooden chair in a blank house. You're not sure where it is. It's completely dark, but you can somehow still see the environment around you. Killed by your own brother. Save his own life. Must make you feel terrible. And a man you didn't know was standing in front of you, turns around, and you see piercing green eyes in the darkness. And that is where we will end our session tonight.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
God.
Just
Oh
the
man.
worst shit show ever.
No kidding.
Just absolute garbage.
Oh man.
Oh, just groan.
So,
Oh.
going to cut the session a little bit shorter just because I think we all might need a little bit of time to figure out exactly where things go from here. We covered a lot of ground in that session. And it'll take a little bit to kind of sort out, even from me, where I want to go, and especially for you guys, especially for Kira and Ignatius, but also for Igram and Talo as well. But at least for right now, I'm going to go ahead and end the live broadcast, and then we can hang around and talk about what some of those options might be a little bit afterwards. But for anybody who watched this while it was live or has taken a look afterwards, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys on the next one.